The subconscious mind. In the mid-80s, when I was a university lecturer, a colleague came back from a weekend annual conference in London, and it was about a thing I'd never heard of, NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And this is an amazing process which examines how we actually think, act and function in the world. He was so enthusiastic about this, I couldn't help but go on the next one myself. Now, we all have experiences that change our lives, and this was certainly one of them. I was in my mid-30s, and John Lennon's quote captures it perfectly. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making plans. At one of the workshops, the speaker put a question to us. What do you want? He wasn't asking about tea or coffee, but the lives we were all leading, if that's the right word. My first reaction was, well, what does he mean? But 15 minutes later, the penny dropped. The question, of course, presupposes that we have actually got control over our lives. God forbid. Well, prior to this event, I had drifted through this particular incarnation. I'd had a number of unsatisfactory jobs. I wasn't particularly satisfied with my career. And my first marriage was not good, to put it mildly. But still, after all, grin and bear it. It's only for life. The problem is, my adoptive parents blessed me with the curiosity. And my dad, despite spending most of his life at a supremely boring routine job, dear me, he excelled in everything he did in his leisure time. And somewhere along the line, I became an incurable optimist. What do you want? My God. Didn't that open a Pandora's box, a can of worms? The stable door. Choose your own metaphor. So, half my life I've been searching, and it began then. Search before then, of course. What is it that determines our thoughts, our choices, our beliefs and values, and ultimately everything else? Was it possible that something was informing and in many ways controlling all of these aspects? A few years earlier, I'd intended an intense personal development training program when I worked in local government. And one of the people on the course, he just came out with it and said matter-of-factly, we become our parents, or similar words. And what is it the Jesuits say? Maybe you've heard this quote. Give me a child until he's 7, and I will give you the man. You'll discover later in this video series there are many more influences on us which create our worldview. I love the word, our paradigm, and our lives. This video is about the subconscious mind, and we can use it consciously, yeah, you're probably confused, to liberate ourselves from any limiting, hidden or forgotten conditioning we have experienced post and prior to conception. And all this can be done with a single aim, to create the kind of life we want. So how do we change our lifelong programming? Like all change, it begins with the realization that we are uncomfortable, dissatisfied, maybe tired or suffering from the way we are at present. It could be an incident or a combination of incidents that accumulate during our lives. You see, I've lost count of the number of psychotherapy clients who've come to me over the years, particularly in the 50s and 60s, asking me to help them with unresolved childhood experiences. Grin and bear it. After all, it's only for life. Over 50 years ago, it was demonstrated less than 1 minute after watching television, a person's brainwaves switch from beta, this is an active logical thinking state, to alpha, which is a passive suggestible state. Aren't you surprised? Well, the good news is that after switching the TV off, our brainwaves return to normal. There are 3 other brainwave states: gamma, delta and theta. Bear with me, this is a big subject, so I'm going to try and simplify it. The brain operates at different levels or frequencies, depending on what we are doing or what we are thinking or what we are paying attention to. So just think now for a minute about when you're reading a book. I would like to think you are quite relaxed and are either sat down or lying down and are relatively passive. What kind of music would capture that moment? What kind of music would capture the operation of your brain at this point? It must be obvious that the music would be slow, calm and harmonious. Of course it depends on the book, but you know where I'm coming from. Now, put your attention on being excited, and you don't need me to elaborate. What music would capture this? Heavy metal? The 1812 Overture? Hard rock? Are you getting the point? For most of us, our days are a series of episodes between relaxation and stimulation. If you go to a nightclub or football match, you expect to be in a high state of stimulation or excitement. So gamma is a high energy state. This could be likened to heavy metal. Delta is a deep sleep or trance, and theta is also a trance-like state. For example, theta is the description of your brainwaves when just before you fall asleep and just after you've woken up. Right, you may be asking, what has all this got to do with the subconscious mind? Well, have you any ideas? The most common way in which our subconscious mind is programmed is repetition. Grin and bear it, after all, it's only for life. How about any message, whether it's true or false, being repeated through the mainstream media? Hands, face, space. If you want willingly to change your beliefs, there are processes that can help you do this. After all, you believe you're powerless, don't you? The subconscious is critically influenced by our brainwave state. Your subconscious mind is strongly influenced when you are in an alpha state or a theta state. And what might a hypno or psychotherapist do? Well, help you with your permission, always with your permission of course, get into a theta alpha state and then allow you to release any unwanted subconscious programs. Or of course, you can continue to grin and bear it. After all, it's only for life. Some final critical observations. Your subconscious mind is habitual. It's programmed, as I've already said, through repetition and through being in a receptive state, particularly between the ages of 0 and 7. And what were the dominant message you heard as a child? Did you hear you are loved? You're clever. Or did you hear you are worthless? You are stupid. No amount of conscious mind-generated positive thinking or willpower can override or even compete with subconscious programming. Most, if not all, personal development stuff fails simply because it does not take into account our subconscious programming. There's evidence to prove this right, left and centre. And have you ever thought why diets don't work? or New Year resolutions. So, my dear friends, you are sick and tired of some of your habitual behaviour. And when you pay attention to them, most of your thoughts repeat what you may have learned as a child. Do you ever hear you being told you're loved or you're worthless inside your head? Or variations on these themes? How about you're unattractive, you're unlovable, and you get what you deserve? To conclude, if one of your dominant subconscious programs is that leopards can't change their spots, and you sincerely believe and value that statement, then you may be past any help I can provide. And yet, are you the same person now as you were decades ago? It's obvious you weren't. For the overwhelming majority of you, and why else would you be watching this, you know you can change for the better, and can start to live the life you've always wanted and the life you deserve. Almost seamlessly, painlessly and miraculously. We have the technology. You just have to want to use it. So have a great day. You're a masterpiece. Smile and let go. After all, it's a wonderful life. Bye. Love to you all.